It was a regular Thursday evening at the Golden Spoon, one of the busiest diners in the heart of Willow Creek, a quiet yet thriving town just outside Chicago. The place had been around for years, known for its hearty meals and homey atmosphere. Customers from all walks of life filled its booths, from blue-collar workers to business executives. Most people believed that Patricia, the tough but efficient manager, was the one in charge. But what they didn't know was that the true owner of the Golden Spoon was Elijah Carter, a self-made millionaire who had built his fortune through a chain of successful businesses. Elijah preferred to stay in the background, letting his managers run the show while he observed from afar. He had a unique way of keeping tabs on his establishments, by going undercover as an average customer. It was his way of making sure everything ran smoothly and that his diners remained places where everyone felt welcome. He had done this countless times before, and the Golden Spoon had always passed his unannounced visits without a hitch. Until tonight. Dressed in an old gray hoodie, worn-out jeans, and sneakers, Elijah stepped inside, scanning the restaurant. The smell of sizzling burgers and fresh coffee filled the air. The usual crowd was there, groups of friends laughing, families enjoying their meals, and a few solo diners lost in their thoughts. Everything seemed normal. Elijah made his way to the front counter where Patricia stood, flipping through receipts with an irritated expression. He had met her a few times, but tonight, something felt off. There was a sharpness in her gaze as she glanced up at him. "Evening," Elijah said casually. "Mind if I grab a table?" Patricia barely looked at him. "We're full," she said, her voice flat. Elijah arched an eyebrow. His eyes flicked over the room. There were at least 4 empty tables. "Really?" "Because I see. They're reserved," she cut him off, her tone impatient. A silence stretched between them. Elijah could feel a few nearby customers shifting uncomfortably, aware of what was happening but pretending not to notice. "All right," Elijah said, keeping his voice calm. "I don't mind waiting." Patricia let out an annoyed sigh. "You're not gonna be seated. Try somewhere else." Elijah blinked. Was this really happening? He had faced discrimination before, but this was different. It was blatant, right in his own establishment. He knew exactly what this was about. It wasn't the hoodie, the jeans, or the supposed full house. It was him. "Let me get this straight," Elijah said slowly. "You're refusing to serve me because of how I look." For the first time, Patricia fully looked at him, and there it was, pure contempt in her eyes. "Look, there are plenty of places for people like you downtown," she said, her voice low but sharp. The room seemed to hold its breath. A few customers had stopped eating. Some exchanged uneasy glances, while others kept their heads down, pretending they hadn't heard. Elijah exhaled, suppressing the storm of emotions brewing inside him. He could blow up right here and now. He could announce to the entire restaurant that he was the owner and fire her on the spot. But no, he had a better plan. "I'll leave," he said simply. "But you're going to regret this." Patricia smirked. "Yeah, sure. Get out." Elijah turned and walked out, his mind already crafting his next move. The following morning, Elijah made a few phone calls. First to his lawyer, Christopher Hale, a sharp, no-nonsense attorney. Then to HR. He needed to handle this right. He wanted to know if this was a one-time incident or if Patricia had been turning away customers like him for a while. Later that afternoon, Elijah returned, but this time, he wasn't in a hoodie. He wore a crisp navy suit, polished leather shoes, and an expensive watch. As soon as he stepped inside, the shift in energy was immediate. A young waitress named Marissa greeted him with a bright smile. "Good evening, sir. Table for one?" He nodded, and she quickly led him to a seat, no hesitation, no excuses. Elijah settled in, taking everything in. The service was fast, the food was great. Everything seemed perfect. But then, he spotted Patricia at the back. She had just noticed him. Her face paled slightly. She leaned toward another waitress, whispering something, her eyes darting to him every few seconds. Elijah smirked. She knows. When he finished his meal, he walked straight to the front counter. "Can I speak to the manager, please?" Patricia appeared a moment later, her face carefully neutral. "How can I help you, sir?" Elijah took his time. He leaned on the counter, looking directly at her. "I think we need to have a serious talk about your behavior last night." A flicker of panic crossed Patricia's face. I don't understand." "Oh, I think you do," Elijah said smoothly. "You see, I was here last night. You refused me a table. Remember?" Patricia's breath hitched. She looked around, as if searching for a way out. "I didn't." "You didn't know who I was," Elijah finished for her. "That's the only reason you're talking to me differently now." The restaurant had fallen into an uneasy silence. Nearby customers and staff were paying attention. The truth was unraveling in real time. I thought," Patricia stammered. "You thought what?" Elijah cut in. "That because I wasn't dressed like this, I didn't belong? That I didn't deserve respect?" She had no answer. Elijah exhaled and shook his head. "Let me make this clear. I own this restaurant. This is my business." Patricia's face went completely white. "I've spent years building this place to be welcoming to everyone." "And you?" "You've been turning away customers, based on your own prejudices." Elijah leaned in slightly. "That ends today." Patricia swallowed hard. Please, I can expo." "You're done," Elijah said firmly. "Pack up your things." "You're fired." A stunned silence. A few gasps. Then, slowly, applause started to spread through the restaurant. Some customers even nodded in approval. The other staff members exchanged looks, some relieved, some satisfied. Elijah turned to Marissa, the young waitress who had treated him kindly. "You'll be acting manager for now. HR will handle the paperwork." Marissa's eyes widened. "Me?" "You treat people with respect," Elijah said simply. "That's what this place needs." Patricia, still frozen, finally turned and hurried toward the back to gather her things. Elijah stepped into the center of the restaurant and addressed the staff and customers. "I want to apologize to anyone who has ever been mistreated here. That is not what this restaurant stands for. Things are going to change." The applause grew louder. Some even cheered. As Elijah walked out, he felt a weight lift off his shoulders. He had done what was right, not just for himself, but for every person who had ever walked into his restaurant expecting fairness and respect. Justice had been served, and his business? It was finally in better hands.